turning the mute
This
off.
Instagram thing, what's that? Are you shutting down the Instagram?
I'm going to leave Instagram going for a couple minutes, and then I'm going to shut it down.
Okay.
Hey, everybody on YouTube. Can you see us all right? And let us know if you can hear us okay. But I think we're good. I got to do like 2 weird chat windows, but that's it. So basically tonight, guys, so we've got mail call stuff that I'm going to show, and we've got some cool stuff I got in the mail, and plus Sean is going to show or talk about some Marvel comics, some G.I. Joe Marvel comics. Everyone's
For the people on Instagram watching now, yeah, we're going to switch this over to Paul's YouTube channel, Plastic Battles, because I see people popping up on IG. So, yeah, okay, just so people know.
Yeah, so we'll be going to YouTube. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to type this in here right now.
There's so many screens.
I know.
This is
It's like I'm in some weird multiple layered of reality, like Lawnmower Man. All right.
I'll be right back.
Meet us at YouTube, everybody. All right, guys. All right. Instagram is done. This is the place to be Thursday nights YouTube. We've got like lots of audio feedback. You probably had it because I had Instagram going too. But keep me in the loop, Chris, if there's a ton of audio feedback now that I've got Instagram done with. Really, the only mic I have going are my AirPods. So.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
How's it sound, guys, now without Instagram? Had the audio now. You know, you get what I'm trying to say. There's like so much production work that goes into this. Perfect, like the Instagram going at the same time, which I figured would cause a problem, but I gotta let people know we're over here. So all right, why don't we rotate? So why don't you kick us off, Sean, with something? Start us off with something.
Who am I and what am I doing here? What?
Start us off with something. Start us off with a little something.
Well, I'm going to ask you, just for the people joining in, like, this is the Plastic Battles show.
Yeah, I got a new mug, everybody.
And you do this every Thursday.
That's right. Almost every Thursday.
And you focus exclusively on Army Ants action figures, right?
I could do the song.
They had a song?
Oh, for the commercial. That was the hook. It's like Army Ants, we go marching along. You know that? They took like that military song and they just rewrote it for the Army Ants.
That sounds right.
Like, high
I did. That's incredible.
For the ant artillery. I think that's how it went.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Yeah.
It's basically toys, but like 95.8% G.I. Joe. Once in a while,
Amazing.
It'll be something else.
And G.I. Joe is the best toy. We know that.
I mean, it's hard.
It's the best ever.
It's hard to argue that.
Best toys, best comics, best 80s cartoons.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I got a new shirt.
Arguably best licensed Capcom Nintendo game. But I will say the Disney ones were pretty good too. Like DuckTales and stuff. Oh. Those were quality Capcom games.
Yeah, we can.
And Capcom only did the second G.I. Joe. So it's the best Taxan Nintendo game.
So who did Goonies? Who did the Goonies 2 movie, but it was a video game?
Konami, man.
Konami?
Like Contra. Yeah.
I love that one. That was a fun one. All right. So tangent on that. When I saw Goonies 2 NES game come out, I thought as a kid that there was going to be a second movie, and so and it spread amongst my school like this is coming out before the movie. So we were all anticipating a Goonies sequel that never happened because there wasn't any way to verify it back then. There was no internet, Twitter, or anything. It was just you saw something, one of your friends said this is going to be a sequel, and everybody just spread it.
Yeah, you read one of these things I'm going to talk about tonight. A magazine with the cover ripped off. I think the cover is ripped off because I got this magazine for free. But what is actually of interest? Do you remember Lee's?
Is that Lee's Toy Review?
Yeah, Lee's Toy Review. This is issue 119. And for a while there, they were doing this thing called the G.I. Joe files.
Oh, all right. I see. I never
which
got
was
that
essentially,
myself.
It was a G.I. Joe file. This one's got the stinger.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool.
What do you know about this? Yeah. So, especially if you were just a toy collector buying this magazine and you wanted to, find out about the obscure second series of He-Man toys, like they would do this stuff, right? Where you'd get to see all the figure packages.
Is this when that what was it called? Like He-Man 2000 or whatever it was called. Is that when that was coming out?
Yeah, so this is Speak of the Devil. So, because they were doing these reissues.
Oh, that's right. I do remember they did those.
And then they did those awesome new sculpt figures.
Yeah, that kind of bombed, right? They didn't do well.
Yeah, but the sculpts were so cool.
Right. They were actually cool looking. It just didn't catch on. Maybe the timing was off.
And the cartoon was good, and it actually... One of the things I have discovered during this pandemic, I was digging through and playing old Game Boy Advance games that I forgot I had acquired. And there's a He-Man Game Boy Advance game.
Yeah.
Quite good. Just gonna say.
Quite good.
Not bad. Not bad.
On a scale of 1 to 4. 4 stars or 1 star, what would you give it?
I give it about 2.5.
2.5 power swords?
Yeah, out of 4, because 4 is a pretty tough thing to rate, right?
Mm-hmm.
If 4 is the highest, what is that? Like the game
perfection. Like there's nothing that you can nitpick about it, you know?
Yeah, so I'd give it a 2.5. It gets a bit repetitive, and it seems, these games, some of them you play after a while, and you're like, why am I playing this?
That was like 1941. Do you remember that game for Nintendo?
Yeah.
Where you just fly the plane and level after level after level,
right?
And it's just the same. And I remember I played it one day from the time I woke up, so let's say 9 a.m. till 9 p.m. at night. Literally 12 hours just playing this game. And I don't know how many levels there were. And the thing when you could continue as many times as you wanted, at least the way I had it. And but start a new game was highlighted by default, and you had to click down to continue. So after 12 hours of playing, I hit too fast before I went down, and it restarted the game. So I lost my whole progress. And I remember that was the last time I spent any considerable time with a game console in my life.
You cost us the war that day.
We never got to 1942.
Oh, man. I was just flipping through this magazine. Do you remember these? The dragon figures?
No, I do not remember those at all.
So this was in a weird era where there was very little Joe stuff coming out. I think maybe Sigma 6 was on TV at the time, judging by what was going on.
The dark days.
But these are basically 12-inch, super articulated military figures, right? So there weren't that many new Joes coming out, but the dragon stuff was really cool. And if you're a 12-inch collector, I know you and I tend to lean more towards the O-ring era.
O-rings because they have souls. How do those hold
And
up
holds.
though? Those dragon figures now. Like if you were to have one in hand, would you be like these hold up, or would you be like, like the Hall of Fame collection Joes don't really hold up, you know?
Yeah, they don't. They certainly couldn't hang with like a sideshow figure, right?
Right. Yeah, I get it. But like if I were to have one and say take it outside and do toy photography with it, it wouldn't look out of place. Like I could get it to look good somehow. It's just something to
Oh, for
experiment with,
sure.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. You can make a Sector look good.
Oh, sectors.
Sectors do look good. That's a bad choice.
Sectors are awesome. I still wish
Yeah.
that Kickstarter I backed and I got the 4-inch ones. They didn't do the best guy. The best guy was Skulk, the one with all the spider eyes on his head.
Yeah.
He was my favorite. I'm like but his head sculpt is so unique. It's probably why they didn't do him first. If they do a second run, I guess, or a second wave, I guess
Yeah.
they're gonna do him. But as a kid, I took that dude and his spider glove,
Yeah.
his little mount, I guess. I took that everywhere for a period of time. It was in the car with me. I went to school with me. I was probably
They're brilliant.
I
Yeah.
was probably 16 at the time. No, I wasn't, but I bring it with me now. Like if going to work, come in with your toys, set them up at the desk.
Yeah, Sectors, I give Sectors a lot of love. Like the design was cool, the storyline was really fascinating. They were just a little they came out kind of slightly before I was like really collecting toys that much, and I did hear a long time ago someone who worked on for Jim Henson designed the toy line, and that's why they had the puppety component where you could, like you're saying,
Oh,
wear the beast on your hand.
yeah, okay.
It started out as puppets created by one of like the Muppet masterminds from Jim Henson, and they just made these. They grew into these crazy insecty, monstrous humanoid figures.
I mean,
Pretty cool. Like Sectors, it's a forgotten classic.
yeah. I mean, I have up here. I got. They're hanging out right here. So this is the
Oh,
logo. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm
yeah,
glad
that
with
logo's
these
sick.
they remade this kind of classic logo. But definitely these were awesome. They did a good.
Are those the same guys who are doing the Eagle Force?
Uh, no, no, they are not.
Okay,
Right? I'm
because I
confused. I get
kickstarted
confused a
that
little bit
Eagle
because
Force line.
I backed Eagle
Yeah,
Force and then I backed this. These guys are doing the Larry. No, the Eagle Force guys are doing the Larry Hama figure.
yeah,
And
and which is finally coming out.
right, and then this is a separate group. Actually, Chris would know from Full Force. Maybe guys. These guys are actually making new O-ring figures, or at least
Is Chris in this chat right
he
now?
was. Maybe he bailed because he couldn't stand our conversation about sectors. But
I can't see who's on here, so hello to anyone out there.
little trick. I know you can't see it because I'm broadcasting, but if you open up YouTube and just mute it so you don't get feedback, but you can see the chat uh, on the side.
So many.
You need a couple screens.
What is this even called on YouTube? So the people know. Is it just Plastic Battles that'll come up?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
just search for plastic battles.
Can you tell I didn't own my own computer until 2014?
Really? That is a deep cut. Like how did?
Yo, this is us. Live now. Love it.
Chris is here.
Okay, great. Muted it.
Chris is here. Stuart said the dragon figures were really good, so he knows about the dragon
I
figures.
probably won't be able to see that, but can you still hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
Cool.
Fantastic.
All right. Well, let's do a quick some mail call. Let's do some.
Love
mail
you,
call.
Chris. He says he's here. Can we talk Full Force tomorrow? We're doing.
Yes, we should talk about that. Yeah, go for it.
What time is that going on, Chris? That's at 11 Eastern?
Yeah, I believe it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Full Forces Facebook page.
Most exciting. We're going to be watching some G.I. Joe cartoons.
Not just G.I. Joe cartoons, but the best of the best.
Action Force.
It's not what I meant. It's not what I meant, but yes, I meant Worlds Without End is what we're doing.
It is best of the best.
And I found out today, Chris, if you're here, so Hasbro apparently is doing like a 24-hour G.I. Joe watch party on their Facebook page tomorrow. I think that's what I.
Wow, I didn't get an invite to that.
I know. What's up? You know, that's something to consider. Let's get real for a second. Guys like you who create amazing G.I. Joe related content. If I'm working for a brand, whether I'm like anywhere in marketing, whatever, if I'm anywhere if I sit next to marketing, if I'm a janitor that cleans marketing's trash cans out, and I happen to be there when they're there, and I know you exist, I'm going to them and be like, why are you not tapping these people for some kind of social media blitz thing with, I mean, it's just how brands get traction these days, by connecting to fandom and using that through social media. But I don't know.
Maybe they don't have the internet.
Maybe they don't have a social media person. Maybe there's like 4 people in the entire department. We don't know. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Who knows?
Hey, I'm available, and I know there's many others who would jump at the. So tonight, though, this is Joe and Tell. We're supposed to tell some stuff about Joe, right?
Yeah, right. Chris says Hasbro starts at 12 p.m. and it was nice of them to accommodate our live at 11 a.m. That was nice of them. So at least they're paying attention. All right, so Joe and Tell. So I will show some Joes and tell you about them. So here's one of the items I got this week. Small little package. I just sliced it open. I got this one.
Whoa, can I just see that envelope for a second? That looks like a highly classified.
It is a highly
action
classified
figure bubble mailer.
You'd almost think that there was like a Starduster or, even like a Steel Brigade in here, but not quite. Not quite. Still an awesome figure, but right up there was Skidmark with the worst code name given to any G.I. Joe figure.
Oh, can I try and guess?
Yeah, go ahead. It's related. It's funny. They're both bad names, but they could like hang out together. These two code names, being as bad as they are somehow related enough to hang out. They could be brother and sister. These code names.
I'm trying. Well, I know we talked about Ice Cream Soldier last time.
That's a bad one, but no.
I'm trying to think without offending anyone.
I'll give you a clue. It is not. It's not a figure from the original 82 to 94 run. Well, the figure
you got a Sergeant Savage.
The code name is not. It's a repaint with a different code name. See if anybody.
General Tomahawk.
That's a bad one. Yeah, right. But no.
When they renamed Hawk Tomahawk.
It's a Cobra. It's a Cobra character. A great army builder, in my opinion.
Okay, who? Coils?
Rip it.
Oh, rip it.
So he ripped it, and then ended up with a skid mark on his underwear.
But don't you you've got a bunch of those, the His Driver repaints, right?
I have a few, yes. So I am building. I love this color scheme. I know there are people out there that are not fans of this mold, but I always was. In, we're talking like 83, 84-ish era as a kid. His Driver was my favorite Cobra, hands down. So it wasn't until like Crimson Guard came out and stuff that he kind of went down. He got knocked down the pegs a little bit, but I love this figure. So I've got like the convention exclusive one from 2007, I think. I've got one of the unreleased China Walmart versions.
I got my Red Hiss handy.
Yeah, the SMS Hiss, right?
Yeah.
Who's in there? Who do you got hanging out in there?
I got beautiful Cobra.
Ooh,
Silver. Look at that.
Yeah, man, he looks
He's
brand new.
mint. He's dude. He's
Nice
so
and
beautiful,
blue,
right? With
not
the silver
yeah,
logo.
not green, not discolored.
So I've allowed him to pilot my hiss, drive my hiss.
That's an
And then we
interesting
got a nice
choice.
little CG up top.
That makes sense.
His classic CG with really loose legs.
That's why he's in the turret.
Yeah. What's our term for these guys when you get these Joe crazy legs?
They're footloose.
Yeah, they're the footloose Joes.
So he doesn't even need the turret to turn. He could just like swivel his legs around.
I love it, right? It's like, oh yeah, does he have a broken crotch? Has he got crazy legs?
Crazy legs. So that's better. Crazy legs is better.
Is he missing a thumb?
I wonder if that's where
Is he stiff?
that code name came
This
from.
guy's so stiff, I'm like terrified to even move him.
Oh man, watch you break his arm off on live.
I know, like our buddies, the Power Commandos.
Hey, Rick's here. What's up, Rick?
Yeah, Power Commando.
You might remember him from 2 weeks ago, right here on the Thursday Night Battles, Joe and Tell.
This is Condor something.
Dude,
Condor Hawk.
These are awesome figures. I need to track some of these down. After you showed me, it really made me want some of these guys. Especially because yours are like brand new looking.
Yeah, for those who missed out. Woo!
Why don't you?
There's Mommy Matt.
Yeah, there is a few people here who were not here that a couple weeks ago. So, you care to share this haul? Those two sealed plus the two loose, right? There was two loose guys.
Yeah.
How much you scored these for off of eBay?
It was like $25 US plus shipping. Like it was just crazy. And then I wound up getting all 6 of this original wave: Mummy Mask, Metal Hawk, X-Ray Eye, Submarine, the guy named Submarine, not the vessel.
What's the vessel called?
Condor
like the
Strike.
guy's code name?
And Red Raven is around here somewhere.
That guy I really dig. When you showed him last time,
yeah,
I love it.
He's your style.
That mask is
well,
cool.
maybe we could maybe one of these bootleg figure guys can get these molds.
Oh, that
make some new ones, because they are cool molds.
They are. All right, what else do we got here? You didn't get anything in this week, right? So I'm mail.
No, I'm not getting anything in for a while.
I should probably subscribe to that. All right, I'm gonna open up another one. I got a bigger box here. This one is another box collectibles on Instagram. So this is from like, I don't know what you would call it, like a subset or a foreign release, I guess, that I've started to collect off and on. Mint on card. So this is a mint on card figure. And I only do it because these are still relatively inexpensive. These are not UK Tiger Force figures on card. Like, I'm not taking out loans for any of these, okay? So this is, now I have a few of these, and I did not have him, and he's one of my favorite Joes, so I had to pick this one up. I think $30 is what this was. It is Fun School Flint. Still, like, one of the coolest figures, in my opinion. Literally, like, he just exudes cool. He's got the eyebrow raise. He's got, like, the beret kind of tilted off, you know. It gives him that attitude, you know, like he's
the best.
He's
top 10 figure.
Yeah, and I know I've seen, you know, we've all wandered down the path of some G.I. Joe Facebook or just toy Facebook groups, right? And I see some people get really weird about how his beret is like off kilter and how it should be, you know, there's like a military way to wear it, right? Should be whatever. But I'm like, yeah, but it's a toy in a fantasy world with a guy who's not actually like, this is, if everything was perfect, they would be less exciting and they would be less different from each other. They'd all start to end up being kind of the same figure. Like true heroes figures or whatever. I like this little bit of attitude. It gives them that personality, you know?
Yeah, and when you watch the cartoon, Flint was involved in 90% of the craziest missions.
Right.
No wonder he's running around. Of course, his beret's going to get knocked around. I mean, he was played hockey in it.
That is true.
I know you like your hockey.
I love my hockey, man. I if there's any sport that I miss right now, it's hockey. That's it. You know, even though the Sabres, my team,
Yeah.
still clawing at becoming at least respectable.
Well, I think I talked about this with Christopher on Full Force once. And I always felt that if they did another Canadian Joe, he had to be a sports-themed hockey guy, right?
Right.
He could be like Slapstick or something, Slapshot.
I think I talked to you about this too. I think we were going over names,
Yeah, maybe it was you. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had some
He
names.
should be, if they did, I like my sports-themed Joes. I'm all about that, Little Captain Gridiron, little Hardball.
You could get you could get real deep
Bazooka.
cut with like not on the ice terms for hockey, but like something when Don Cherry was still doing stuff like just call him like Hot Stove or something like that. Because I remember.
Well, backstop is a hockey term,
and he's Canadian,
but. Yeah, and he's Canadian, but he's not hockey themed. They kind of dropped the puck on that one.
Good one. I think they kind of covered every sport. They got basketball, even though Big Lob wasn't technically released, which I still don't know the story behind. Chris might know. Rick, one of you, Sean, you might know. Like, what happened there? It's always been in the back of my mind, but I've never been in a position to ask someone who would know. Like, how do you write in a character that unique into the movie with no plans to make the toy? Or at least...
I thought it was a last-minute change because they couldn't use the fridge.
Oh. See, now that makes sense. Man.
But I could be completely wrong. That was my understanding.
Rick says hat trick. I like that. You could have had a team
hat trick.
Called hat trick. 3 guys like the Renegades, but call them hat trick, and then each one has their own like look.
Well, hey, one of the Renegades is wearing a football jersey, right?
Red Dog.
Is it Taurus? Red Dog, yeah, Red Dog.
That's a football term, Red Dog, for a football play.
Yeah. So you got a whole sports themed. I mean, I don't know if the Power Commandos have any sports themed guys. I'll have to look into that.
Joe's even have Frag Viper, who's like a highlight.
Yeah.
Kind of homage. You know what I mean? So you're dipping in the highlight and you haven't done a hockey dude? Like, that's kind of a diss, I would say.
They just kind of were like, yeah, backstop, fine. He's covered. But I'm sure we would have gotten it.
Chris says high stick.
Yeah, high stick.
High stick would be good.
Was that the name? There wasn't, I don't know. There's
All right, I got two more things, but really just one specifically Joe thing. And this is the one I was most excited about. But it's got a big ding in it. So I'm a little concerned. You could watch a grown man cry on live YouTube right now.
Is it a sealed content ballistic battle ball?
Better. Sealed contents. You got that part right. If you're talking sealed contents and you're doing like a scale, up here, and this thing would be up here.
Man, they were giving pogos away back in the day.
I love the pogo, to be honest.
It's bouncy. It's crazy.
The commercial.
It's roomier than a buzzball.
With like Rant, like if you collected Joes in the '60s, let's say, and you were an adult, and you knew G.I. Joe was around, but you hadn't seen anything, and you just happened to catch that commercial. You're like, oh, this is G.I. Joe. Like, I remember G.I. Joe Adventure Man, like Adventure Team and all that. And you see like the pogo and a dude dressed as a bird, and he was like, what is going on? But I think it's great. I got the pogo the day of my mom doing doing bingo monitoring at night at my school, and we had to go with her. So all these old people are playing bingo. She's like either serving food or doing, I don't know what she was doing, and I'm playing with the pogo like in my cafeteria that I normally eat lunch in at school, like underneath all the tables. I remember Cobra Commander and the battle armor, and then around in this on the floor in this cafeteria. Sorry, weird story. But
Did the legs fall off it though?
oh, I know that does suck. It does.
That was my issue with it. It didn't have like the playability because the legs always fell off it.
I'm not kidding because they were so cheap. I probably have, I'm gonna say 8 pogos. Some of them snap in real good where the legs do not fall off. I noticed they'll flex a little bit, but they won't pop out. And then other ones, I don't know if it's just from wear or whatever. The little tabs are like weaker, but they pop right off. All right, ready? This whole special meaning. I'll just say this. This is one of the vehicles that happens to all of us that I really wanted as a kid, especially because it was in the cartoon a lot, and I just never got it when it was available in toy stores. So now it's probably 86, 87. I never got it. It came out in 84, and then it becomes available for mail-in. So I mailed in for this. I think it was a Fang and a Slugger all at once. And I got screwed on the Slugger because they got a note when the other things came that said Cobra cut off our supply lines and we weren't able to get you the Slugger, so we're refunding you your like $2.50, and they included the flag points back with it. And I remember throwing a tantrum, like crying like a baby at 11 years old or whatever, because I didn't get the Slugger, because that was my number one thing. I got this, and I loved it so much. Here it comes. It is hard to show because it's like sealed contents mail away. It is a sealed contents Skyhawk.
Awesome vehicle.
Love it. Now the stickers are, what happens here where they kind of stick to the bag, but that's okay. I'm gonna get like toy hack stickers, for this thing. But I've got a couple Skyhawks, that are in good shape. But I wanted to get a sealed one because that's how I got mine as a kid in the mail away. So and I got this for a good price. It's got the Made in Brazil little sticker on it. You see that?
Oh, it's a Brazilian Skyhawk.
Yeah, even better.
That's better than the Taiwanese.
It's got a tan and everything. So
is that a thing?
What's that?
Is that a thing? Like I didn't know that many were made in Brazil.
I don't know. I think it was like maybe the year. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. We got 8 people in the chat. Hold on, let me catch up on the chat here. Stuart says, I think it had something to do with the movie not doing well and the series being moved to Deke. I don't know. I don't know what that was, and maybe it was the Pogo thing. Rick says my Pogo is displayed proudly right beneath my Night Raven. That's a good couple pairing. The black and the red, I like it. The Pogo reminded me of the Lunar Lander. It is kind of like a space vehicle, which makes sense because later they made it the Invader, right? With the black and the neon green. Cobra Commander Battle Armor lives in the Pogo on my shelf. Like, he just makes sense in there because of the comic book and because of that commercial for the comic book. Skyhawk is awesome. I don't have a vintage one. Stuart doesn't have a vintage one. Love, Revenge of Cobra, and the Skyhawk were highlighted nicely in that. Rick, that's exactly it. My favorite cartoon at all by the time 87 rolled around. This is probably pre-movie, right? But through the 86 series, the 85 series, the 83 miniseries, the Revenge of Cobra is down. And it was because the Skyhawk was in it a ton. You had like all these new things. You had all the 84 stuff debuting and 85 stuff debuting in the same cartoon series. It was bonkers. So I've been these are not easy to come by, like for a decent price. Like they go for well over $100 a lot of times on eBay. And so I got this like cheaper than that. I don't know if people were sleeping on this auction, but it was an auction. It went. I got it for I think $50. So I'm perfectly happy with this. So yeah. All right. Let me show one last thing. This is not exactly Joe related, but it relates to what's behind me. So I'm gonna have a small rant, which is like everyone who knows me is like, Paul, we need you to do more rants, and I'm like, I don't want to be the rant guy, but I'm good at ranting about specific topics. All right, so behind me, you can see there's 4 display cases. You can see 3 in the view. It's basically 2 display cases side to side, so it's 2 and 2. They're all from IKEA, and the lights are IKEA light strips. They change colors. There's a dial that you can spin and go Roy G. Biv, all the colors, back to I'm going to say quote unquote white. Behind me is what you see. These sets are supposed to be white, and they're the same sets. However, the one over here is clearly greenish, and the one over here is clearly like magenta. And like what? They don't match. This looks terrible, and I can't figure.
I was going to mention that. I think it's just absolutely terrible that you're forcing us to stare at this backdrop tonight.
So I bought these puck lights from Amazon that I'm going to put in there. They stick.
That's what they played hockey with in Revenge of Cobra.
It is. These are basically the Weather Dominator's middle section, if you remember that. It's the power core. The power core.
Yeah.
This one changes colors too, but it comes with a remote, and they're dimmable, where these are not dimmable. So I'm excited. I'm going to take the other ones out. I'm going to put these in, and then I can feel better about my OCD compulsive disorder, where when I look at this, my skin crawls. So there's that.
Changes color like Zartan.
Oh, and one toy photography related thing, I got gaffer tape. If anybody knows what gaffer tape is, it's just basically like this all-purpose tape that they use in like gaffers on film sets and things, and photographers. You could basically use to tape anything, like block off light from a source, tape something together, tape foam core together if you want to use it as a bounce. So some gaffer tape. It's like an all-purpose duct tape for photographers. So I got some of that. Essential goods from Amazon during the pandemic, right here. All right, that's it. That's all my mail call for the week, guys. So, Sean, you wanted to talk Marvel Comics, and I think now is the perfect time to do it.
Well, you asked me to come on and tell some things about Joe. So I was recently going through a lot of some boxes, rearranging some stuff, and I found this incredible item. So we all know this comic.
That's the giant version.
Yeah, so it appears larger in person. You got it right there. Amazing.
Yeah.
So what is key about this edition, though, and why I wanted to tell about it here, it's part of the IRS collection.
Oh.
So I was recently just talking about this with a friend of mine. So I got this as a gift from my friend Cal, who runs Strange Adventures comic shop in Nova Scotia. And he came across it at, I think it was San Diego Comic-Con. And you probably can't read that. But what's fascinating to me is the IRS collection. It was in, and it relates to you and I in a very small way. So the IRS collection is one of the largest private collections ever sold. An employee of the Colorado Department of Revenue allegedly infiltrated the Colorado income tax refund computer in 1989 and started writing fraudulent income tax refund checks. Okay? So Colorado is where we met. I'm sure you had nothing to do with this.
Right.
But
not me. I don't know what you're talking about, man. You know what? I got to go.
But what is fascinating is this guy started writing fraudulent checks, and it's like hundreds of thousands of dollars, which he wanted to achieve a simple goal to get a copy of every comic ever published. Over 20 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars spent building this massive collection, and he had just like an insane amount of comics before he got busted. And that's the state of Colorado caught up with the alleged embezzler. They keep calling him alleged, but come on. In March '92, and they seized the entire collection. And so this guy had like climate-controlled refrigerated basements,
Wow.
hundreds of thousands of dollars, and all he was trying to do was just get comics.
I love
And,
this guy. Is he still around somewhere?
Well, if anybody has time, they want to just look into the IRS collection. But so to me, to have the single copy of the G.I. Joe Treasury Edition from the IRS collection, it's kind of a cool little piece.
I love this story. I do not know this story at all. Oh my!
So I thought you'd appreciate it, and I'm curious if anyone else has any other issues, and if he had issue 21 of G.I. Joe. He must have had a complete run.
Stuart.
Well, maybe not a complete run.
Stuart says he has one too, and I don't know if that means Stuart. Does that mean you have this issue, or do you have an IRS collection issue?
Do you have the IRS collection one?
Let's see. Let's see what he says. All right. So his name was Aaron Stubbs. Aaron is spelled A-R-A-N. I've never seen that spelling before. Aaron.
So
I wonder if he's around, man. We should get him on next Thursday.
I was looking for. I couldn't find my Joe issues because I wanted to show I've got a couple weird, obscure G.I. Joe comics. I mean, I've got tons of the Marvel, but I did find the Transformers. I know we're not on. So that's the first issue of Transformers.
Oh, that's a good one. That cover is a Senquitz cover, right?
Yeah, this one here, yeah. And then this with the final issue, of course.
Oh.
I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with. The final issue of the Marvel run.
That?
80.
80, okay.
And see how the first issue says 1 in a 4-issue limited series? The last issue is 80 in a 4-issue limited series.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's crazy.
And then I just want to go on record because I don't know if this is true, but I think even though 80 is a very sought-after issue, they came back and they did Generation 2, and I think it had an extremely low print run. And this is the final issue of Generation 2, which is the last Transformers Marvel comic published.
Really?
So, I know we're here to talk Joe, but I think this may have the lowest print run of any Transformers comic published by Marvel. I would like to know if that's true. But so this, in theory, could be the rarest one.
That's awesome. I like that cover too. And all this is fair game because I'll just say my experience growing up with everybody who loved Joe, loved Transformers. They loved tons of toy line. I mean, Joe was like the centerpiece, but it wasn't only Joe. It was like Sectors, He-Man, Transformers, Battle Beasts. All that stuff was on the periphery. And for me too, Starcom was there, so it's all fair game. But you know what's awesome about that too? The low print run of that is, well, I'll say this: you used to work for Strange Adventures, right?
It's got to be low.
You worked for Strange Adventures, which is like a well-known comic shop in right, in the Halifax, right, on the Halifax side.
Halifax, and there's one in New Brunswick and one in Dartmouth. So they have 3 locations.
And I've been to that.
And they do mail order too.
And I've seen Dave there, and I've been to that shop. And it's funny knowing that you used to work there back in the day. So I'm wondering, how extensive is your comic collection, and do you have other comics similarly in that vein of like a short, maybe like a short run, but a well-known property? Is there anything else that you might have?
I've got.
Chris says Visionaries, right? Visionaries was in the group of toys. Mask. I can't believe I forgot Mask. That's in the stuff that. It would have been awesome if Mask, Visionaries were all like the same scale as Joe's. You could have mixed them all together. Oh, nice. I don't think that needs an explanation.
So Ninja Turtles, that's the 3rd print, and I kept it in the bag when I bought it because it was just $10.
Whoa, when did you get this?
So that would have been 96, 96 or 97.
That's awesome.
And I mean, I could talk comics all day, but I did want to bring up the Transformer comics because I know this is Joe based and we've got Joe stuff. The DDP G.I. Joe Transformers Omnibus. Now, Devil's Due. Have you read much of the Devil's Due stuff?
Not honestly. I'll just not any. I haven't read enough to even to qualify for anything.
Yeah, I mean, it's polarizing for a lot of reasons, and there's stuff I like about it. There's stuff I'm not crazy about.
I mean, what years are we talking this was out? Because I think this was just, I was at
I feel like it was 2001, and it ran until maybe 2000. Devil's Due probably stopped publishing, I want to say 08, 09. I could be wrong.
So
I'll check what
amount of years. I think that was just in this period of time for me that my interests were elsewhere. I'll just say that. So I missed that kind of era.
Well, this is fascinating, I think, especially for Sunbow fans, because if you're not familiar with this, the G.I. Joe Transformers series featured the first comic book appearance of Cobra La. They had never appeared because Larry Hama wanted nothing to do with them.
And we all know, we should know, everybody, Sean is a huge Cobra La fan, right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge Joe fan, and I love the Hama stuff so much, and I don't think Cobra La belongs in that universe, but I love Cobra La in the Sunbow universe. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's especially being like a young kid at the time. I mean, I've talked about this a million times, but Cobra La just blew my mind as a little kid. It was like, wait, everything I know is a lie?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
The mutants, it's violent. The animation holds up. I mean, I rap about it like
phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal.
Nemesis Enforcer, slashing that havoc. Pulling out Snow Job. Rah!
That is crazy. The very first moment of that movie that I saw, because in the TV guide, in that when it aired, it said it was supposed to be Revenge of Cobra in the TV guide, and I had it kind of marked down to watch, and I forgot. We're at like an hour in, right, or something, and I'm like, oh my god, I forgot, and I changed the channel on the knob on my TV, expecting to see Revenge of Cobra, and instead I see Nemesis Enforcer drilling into a Havoc. My brother and I were like, what are we watching? And I was never so aggravated in my life that because back then, when is it getting another chance to see what I missed? Ooh, that's sweet. That's a sweet image right there.
So obviously, I mean, a lot of people probably want nothing to do with this, but there's a lot of people who don't know it's out there. And right now, I know when everybody's hunting down Joe figures, there's a lot of Devil's Due comics sitting in quarter bins out there that you can track down, so you can get the individual issues. If you can find this omnibus for the Joe Transformers, if you have any interest in Cobra La, I thought it was actually a fun take on combining the history of Cobra La with the history of Unicron. So it actually ties in, and the stranger Transformers, because we all know stuff like the Pretenders, right? You saw Bludgeon there. Mm-hmm. They were kind of weird. Like, there's some strange stuff going on.
So they're going to take all the weirdos and kind of like throw them into this storyline, right?
Yeah, and even our pals, the aliens, show up, right?
Oh, really? Like the Star Brigade aliens?
If I remember correctly.
Well, if there's ever a place to include them, this sounds like it would be the place.
But here's, Globulus versus Hawk.
Oh, sweet.
It's just fun. It's just fun stuff.
This is a collection of a certain story arc in the regular issues collected into that, right?
Yeah, there were 4 G.I. Joe versus Transformers from Devil's Due at the time that collected these. And the creative teams changed hand a few times, but the stuff by Tim Seeley, I thought, was kind of the standout for me.
Chris says he loved it. Adding the Pretenders was inspired in, and then he said Lunartics. So Lunartics was in
Lunartics, they're here, Lunartics. They are in here. Anyways, it's just fun stuff that I know we're talking with people who know their stuff. But if you don't have this and you can find it, just probably get it cheap. I don't know. This hardcover might be a little trickier to find, but the back issues you can probably track down.
That's a good call, man. That's the kind of stuff that with the toys, I hear it a lot these days where it's like, man, I wish scoop those up when they were, this mail away Deep Six was like $10 a pop, and now they're going for like 150. So
Yeah.
those kind of like those comics in the quarter bins are probably why not pick them up now? If you collect that kind of thing.
And if you are looking for Devil's Due, I mean, and you haven't read it, I think the end of that series was fantastic. Chris will, I'm sure, agree because we got to see some Red Shadows action. They brought in the Red Shadows, but the World War III storyline is really good. My one, yeah, I mean, I got a lot of issues. We won't get into it when I start, and I know we're going to talk tomorrow on about Worlds Without End, but there was one thing because they tried to tie up a bunch of storylines from the Hammer run while also incorporating the Sunbow stuff. And some of it didn't work, some of it kind of worked, and yeah. But one thing that never got brought up, because you've read the Hammer run.
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking about Worlds Without End, and I'm excited to watch that tomorrow. There's a villain that literally got away with murder and like blowing up half of Cobra Commander's son, Billy, and nobody ever busted him for it.
So does that carry to Devil's Due?
No, Scrap Iron.
Oh.
So everybody forgets that Scrap Iron was like, he kind of got away with this, and I could be wrong, but I don't think anybody ever confronted him. Cobra Commander was like, hey, by the way, the reason Billy has an eye patch and the reason Billy lost his leg is because, which also sent into all the events with the Softmaster and, of course, Bongo the Balloon Bear. But Scrap Iron never, he's kind of, and you kind of forget about Scrap Iron. And I know we were talking about, because he's on that battle pack, what is it, where he's like at the shooting range? They just decided that Scrap Iron needed target practice.
Yeah, right.
But he is the product designer, right? Isn't he like Destro's product designer guy?
And in Sunbow especially, because he right in the 86 Rise to Pentora Rise. So
yeah, because like Destro brought him into Cobra.
Yeah.
Like he was like he was kind of the first Iron Grenadier, really.
Which
that
is
we got introduced.
Because when if you're at Hasbro in 88 and you're making the Iron Grenadiers, this is a perfect time to make another Scrap Iron figure. Like version 2.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, Scrap Iron gets no props.
I love Scrap Iron. He's always been one of my like unsung heroes of Cobra. You know what I mean? Like he does his job.
His head is big.
His head is big.
The toy.
It is. I think that's what knocks him down a little bit. But I'd rather have his head look a little big with this like helmet on it, which a real human might look like it is big if they have this, especially if you're a skinny guy. You know what I mean? And you're wearing a helmet. Versus,
and he came in '84, so he's like kind of the forgotten Cobra guy because you got Firefly.
Right.
Like him and Firefly were working together all the time.
Yeah.
Firefly's the guy who told him to blow up Billy.
I'd rather have a slightly larger head. Like even people say Wild Weasel's head's too big, but I'm like, he's wearing an AV to look big. Versus a shrunken head. Like in those shrunken head, like Scarlet in the Dojo stuff that came out in the, was it late 90s, early 2000s, that shrunken headline where their heads are like peas on their shoulders. Oh, that's the worst. Yeah. I'll take the little bit bigger head. And the thing with him is, if you think about the 84 line, right? If you think about Storm Shadow, Firefly, Scrap Iron, whom I forget, Zartan, you put them all together, that's a
Copperhead.
cool, what's that? Oh, Copperhead, yeah. You put them all, like line them up, Wild Weasel, line them all up
Wild Weasel
together, and that's like a real cool looking motley crew of characters,
Is crazy. The best.
Oh, so good. So 84,
But everyone
85.
gets scrap iron. He never, yeah. He kind of got away with murder.
He doesn't really have a version 2 in the Air H line, right? That's it.
No, he has a modern era figure that you could get in a 2-pack.
Right.
And they scarred up his face a little more.
Yeah, and that's a decent looking
went,
modern figure, and I'm not into modern figures that much, but I like that one.
Yeah.
Stuart says 84 is the best. I feel like that's how I used to feel, but now I feel like 85 is the best because you had 85 figures and 84 figures vehicles all at the same time, right? They're all available. So if you walked into a store in 85, you had a Rattler and a Hydrofoil. You had Zartan and like the flag. It's just crazy. Oh my god. If I could, I could go back. If I had a time machine, I'd go back in time. I could save the world. I could kill Hitler. I'm an idiot, and I would go back to 1985 and just walk down an aisle at Toys R Us. Oh, it's so good.
Was Flag 85 or 86?
85.
It was 85. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it Christmas of 85. I remember the shock of getting that thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. I got it later in life, which we talked about before, but yeah.
Well, I will say, because people always that get it, like my family was all solid middle class. My dad and my grandfather both construction workers. Like it's not. So we didn't ask for a flag. Like there was not something that my brother and I were like, we're gonna ask for this. It was just we asked for hydrofoils. We asked for Mauler. I think those were the big items I got from my parents. But my grandparents showed up.
The Mauler up there.
Yeah, my grandparents showed up Christmas night for dinner, and then went back. My grandfather and my father went back outside to my grandfather's car and came back in with this giant package. And there was a minute like, what is this? And then it clicked. Like, is that a flag? And we opened it. We were like, oh my god. It was crazy. And then it sat behind our couch like for 3 years. Like in the living room. Good times.
Great. Well, look, it's getting about that time. I'm gonna have to bounce.
Yep. Yeah, it's 9:18. So we've been on about an hour, right? So
beautiful.
Yeah, this is great. We've been an hour and 4 minutes technically. This has been live. All right, before we go, Full Force, Chris says Stewart's scrap iron was always switching sides for whoever paid him more. That sounds about right. And then he also says, Chris says, there was a shop giveaway in the UK for a flag. Other than that, we didn't get it in stores here. That's right, they didn't get it in stores. Imagine that. It's not available to anyone who loves Action Force or G.I. Joe in UK, but you won that giveaway. So you're like the only kid in the UK that has one of these things. That's got to be crazy.
Scrap iron showing up at your house. I want that flag.
Oh, Cujo just showed up, ghosting. Oh no, he was here. He said he was ghosting. So cool. Well, thanks guys. Thanks for everybody for showing up. Sean, thanks for doing this. Hopefully we can do some more of these.
Full Force tomorrow, right? Full Force on. Christopher, where can people see that? On Facebook, YouTube? How does that work?
I will say I think it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I believe it's just on the Full Force Facebook page. And so we'll see. So check that out tomorrow, guys. 11 a.m. Eastern. We'll Chris from Full Force, myself, and Sean will be there. Facebook Live, he says. All right. See you guys.